If you can guess the 3 developments that shaped the diamond industry in 2023, then you're ahead of the curve and well set up to understand where the market is heading in the new year. So in this video, I'm going to discuss these events as a means to understand what drove the diamond market in 2023. Think of it as our end of year review of sorts. Before I start, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my shiny new website for more information about me, what I do, and how we can collaborate if you are so inclined. So it was quite the eventful year for the diamond industry, with several groundbreaking developments that I believe are going to have a lasting impact on the market. And there are 3 in particular that I think really defined activity in the diamond industry in 2023. Those were the market slowdown, sanctions imposed on diamond supply from Russia, and the deal that was finally agreed between De Beers and the Botswana government. Now, each of those are deserving of a video of their own, but I have a feeling we're going to have plenty of opportunity to do that in the coming weeks and months. Our goal here is to give a snapshot of the industry in the past year so that we can understand where we're standing at the moment moving into 2024. So firstly, the diamond market. It's no secret the market slowed down quite dramatically. But that slowdown needs to be understood in the context of the previous 2 years during which we enjoyed an unprecedented industry boom. We've discussed this many times. There was a release of pent-up demand after the pandemic. Households had money saved up from that COVID lockdown period, from which they then emerged with a burning desire to get out of the house, and so they went shopping and they spent, with jewelry being a major beneficiary of that spending. That rise in demand for goods, along with supply issues relating to the war in Ukraine, drove up general prices, resulting in a high inflationary environment and influencing the Federal Reserve to start raising interest rates. All this restored caution among consumers as the cost of living rose, and that economic uncertainty was already apparent in the second half of 2022, which ended with a sluggish holiday season during which jewelry sales fell. Meanwhile, the industry had bought a lot of inventory during the boom period, when they perhaps naively believed the good times would continue indefinitely, and that includes both jewelry retailers and polish suppliers, in other words, manufacturers and dealers who make up the midstream. And so it was under those circumstances that the trade began 2023, and came January, the industry was undersold and overstocked. Jewelry retailers did not replace inventory after the holiday season in the same way they usually do, and that atmosphere of cautious inventory replenishment continued throughout the year, really. The other element of the slowdown was the lack of recovery in China after COVID. And remember, China only opened its borders and effectively ended lockdowns around December, January, just 1 year ago. It's hard to believe. And China did not have a post-COVID bounce as we experienced in the United States, and as many of us expected it would. The March and June Hong Kong shows were slow, and the likes of Chow Tai Fook, Luke Fook, and Chow Sang Sang, the major jewelry retailers in the region, reported sluggish gem set jewelry sales, although there was strong demand for gold jewelry through the year, as many in the region viewed gold as a safe haven investment during times of uncertainty. And so we had economic caution in both the United States and China, the 2 largest markets for diamond jewelry, and a pipeline that was flush with goods. The big challenge for the industry was how to reduce or manage its large inventory levels. That oversupply scenario influencing diamond prices to consistently decline throughout the year. But the real underlying concern was whether the desirability for natural diamonds was being eroded after the boom years. And that, of course, came in the context of continued growth in demand for lab-grown diamonds. I'd say that 2023 was a year of maturing for the lab-grown segment. We saw India doubling down on the product and investing in the sector, perhaps best symbolized by Prime Minister Modi gifting a 7.5-carat synthetic diamond to US First Lady Jill Biden. And De Beers also raised its investments in lab-grown through its Lightbox brand, which started to offer 1 to 2 carat synthetic diamond engagement rings for a brief period, but soon cancelled that experiment, perhaps after a bit of negative trade press and backlash from within the industry over the move. Sometimes companies dip their toes in to test the waters before diving in at a later stage. That's just my speculation, but we'll watch this space for more on that. The bigger point being that the lab-grown segment continued to grow and took market share from natural diamonds in some surprising areas, most notably in bridal. The lower price points appealed to consumers in the cautious economic environment, and consumers were also trading up to higher size or better quality lab-grown diamonds with their limited budgets. And Signet Jewelers reported that actually led to a higher average transaction price for lab-grown compared to its natural diamond offering. Now, I don't think that's sustainable, as lab-grown prices have declined sharply at wholesale, and one expects that retail jewelers will have to lower their prices accordingly. I expect that will happen in 2024, because put the emotional value of one's diamond purchase aside, consumers also see that diamond purchase as an asset, especially in the bridal space, and I think consumers will catch wind of the fact that their lab-grown diamond has already lost value and does not have that same asset appeal. So I think natural diamonds will reclaim some of the bridal market in the coming year. And it seems that will be just in time, as there is some expectation that we're at the start of an engagement boom cycle, the root of which extends back to the dearth of dating that apparently occurred during the pandemic. But let's get back to 2023, because faced with economic caution in the two largest diamond jewelry markets and rising competition from lab-grown, sales fell across all sectors of the natural diamond pipeline. I estimate that industry revenue as a grand total declined by 10 to 15%, with the sharpest declines experienced amongst the miners. De Beers rough sales fell 38% to an estimated $3.6 billion across its 10 site cycles in 2023. So why was that? Because remember, the biggest challenge facing the industry was to align the excess supply with which it started the year with the lower levels of demand which transpired throughout the year. The industry had to reduce inventory, particularly in the midstream, and that led manufacturers to reduce their rough purchases to the extent that India took the drastic measure of freezing its rough imports for 2 months beginning in mid-October. That, along with demand for the holiday season, has helped to restore some balance and stabilize the market as we approach the new year. Now, in the background of all these market developments were discussions about supply from Russia, existing US sanctions on Russian mining company Alrosa, and pending restrictions planned by the G7 nations. And we somewhat naively at the beginning of all this thought that Russian goods would be off the market and lead to a shortage. Of course, that did not happen, and despite the sanctions, it seems that Alrosa sold pretty much all of its production, fueling concern about where all those Russian goods were going. As a result, these discussions accelerated the industry's traceability capability, as the G7 measures will likely require a registration and proof of origin for both rough and polished imports. We saw many of those traceability or blockchain programs ramp up their marketing efforts in 2023, recruiting suppliers and forging partnerships. The alliance between De Beers Tracer program and Sarin Technologies was probably the most significant, but keep an eye on other service providers such as iTraceit, Authentia, and Everledger. And these traceability programs encompass source of origin, but also provide the capability for companies to show their broader sustainability credentials. And here I want to bring in Botswana, our final major story of 2023, because Botswana is really scaling up its sustainability story. We know the amazing impact that diamonds have had on Botswana, but we have to look at it in a different way, that Botswana has done amazing work to enable diamonds to do good in the country. And this was the messaging in the background of the negotiations between the Botswana government and De Beers for the new 10-year sales deal between the two. and the 25-year mining lease for Botswana, the mining joint venture in Botswana that governs production in the country. And those negotiations really heated up through the year. The deal was postponed due to COVID, but it was then postponed again thereafter twice, clearly because there were sticking points in the talks. But they eventually signed, and it's now in the process of being finalized. The agreement is potentially transformative for the country, which was the intention, and it remains the challenge. But it also has implications for De Beers, as the company now faces a decline in its access to Botswana's rough production. And Botswana makes up about 2/3 of De Beers' production. As for Botswana, the country has positioned itself as a major rough supplier independent of De Beers and as the lead narrator in the industry's sustainability story. So watch the space on that theme. As I said, each of our 3 storylines warrants a video of their own. 2023 was not an easy year, no ifs or buts about it. My big takeaway is that we cannot take demand for granted. If you contrast the market through the recovery from COVID and how quickly it turned going into 2023, it's quite concerning. The second thing is that responsible sourcing through traceability and sustainability are going to be central themes moving forward. So thank you for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more content like it, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to my newsletter that goes out every Monday. Check out my website, avikravitz.com. I'm super excited for 2024. So happy New Year, everyone, and we'll see you again next time.